Hi everyone, it's Sherry Carroll of Hero Arts here to show you how to do a quick technique on how to layer your stamp images. This is the card I'm making with a flower text background stamp using some of my favorite pattern papers, white embossing, and a little bit of pink color. Real quick, I wanted to show you the stone etchings, which is another great set to use for the layering of your stamp images. But for today, I'm using the text flowers so that I can cut out each individual little flower. I'll be stamping on my favorite pattern paper. To start off, I've cut a sheet of snow layering paper, so I just tacked it to my stamping plate. And I have my image here, and I'm just going to ink this up with some Versamark ink. Just make sure I get it really well covered. And I'll go ahead and set this on my work surface, and then I can just put my stamp press to my stamp. And once I lay this down, I can walk my fingers around and get a really nice crisp image. And I know that because the stamp is so large, I'm getting the full sheet stamped really well just by pressing on the stamp press. I go ahead and press in the center. And once I'm happy with that, I'll go ahead and peel this off. And there's my image. So next I'll be embossing this with my white embossing powder. So I'll go ahead and get everything set up. I usually use a piece of printer paper that I've already used and just to recycle, and that's my catch. And I just go ahead and sprinkle it on from the jar and kind of tap it away. If you notice, my paper is cut just a little bit bigger than the image. That way I can have a place to hold when I'm putting on my embossing powder. So just keep putting on the powder, and if you have to refill it into your jar, just go ahead and take the time to do that. And then continue adding your powder until the entire surface is covered. And then give it a good tap on the back and get off the excess. And now I'm ready to heat set. I use a Milwaukee heat gun, and it usually takes a couple seconds for it to heat up, but once it does, you can see the embossing powder start to turn shiny. Then you want to keep the gun moving and just go ahead and emboss the rest of the piece. Now this is something I just thought about today, and I wanted to be able to use all my little scraps of papers but yet to get different colors of flowers. Because I am very conservative with my papers, especially when I love them. I just wanted to use just the little bits of pieces. So what I did is I stamped on a background, and then I cut some of my papers so they fit over the images that I want to cover. And I'm just using my adhesive tape runner, and I'm just tacking them down. And then when I'm done, I can stamp over top and get all my images at once on my colored papers. So now I'm ready to stamp with my flower text, and I'll just ink this up again with Versamark ink. Just make sure that I get it very well covered. And I will use my anti-static bag and just kind of run over my little papers. And then I'll just go ahead and place the stamp, line it up, and stamp. Give it a good wiggle and a little pressure around the sides. And when you're done, you can lift it off, and it'll be kind of hard to see the image now until we emboss. Okay, now I can start adding my embossing powder, and just like before, I'll just go ahead and open my jar, and I have my paper catch underneath, and I'll just sprinkle it on. And this time I'm just hitting the areas of the flowers. And I'll go ahead and tap my paper, and I'll bend it a little bit backwards so that any powder that might be underneath the papers can get out. Now I'll heat set. And now I'm working on my craft sheet, and I have my sponge sugar ink and my ink applicator, and I'm just going to add a little bit of pink color to my background. So I'll start by loading up my applicator, and I'll start rubbing onto the paper. And I'm just going to rub more in between the flowers because I'll be covering up the flowers with my pattern paper when I'm all done. So just keep adding color until you're happy with your outcome. And once you have the amount of color that you want on your background, you can go ahead and start edging it with your ink applicator tool and your ink. And I'm just reapplying ink and just kind of swiping it on the ends. Because the tooth of the paper is rougher on the ends, it grabs the color a little bit more and looks a little more concentrated. So go ahead and do all four sides. And now I'm ready to start putting everything together, so I'm just using my tape runner and going around the outside edges. And I like to add a little in the center. And I'll just be putting this onto a white note card. So go ahead and line it up and press it in place. And now, for the sake of saving time, I've already cut out all my little pieces and I've kind of mounted them onto my block so that I can kind of keep track of everything and where they go. And I've just added a little bit of foam mount to the back, and I can just go ahead and peel them off the block and put them in place onto my card. Now I'm just adding my last flower and going ahead and peeling off the back of the foam mount. And this is the roll type from 3M that I'm using, so I can cut the pieces the way that I want them. So I'll go ahead and just put this in place. And this is how all my little pieces look. To finish off my card, I've added some gems and pearls, and I'll be using some liquid pearls to fill in the little dots above this flower. So just give each one a little squeeze. Now, liquid pearls is thick like icing and it leaves little peaks, and how you can remedy that is to tap it onto a surface to smooth them out. So right now I'll just be using my wood block and just give them a little tap, and now they're smooth. And here's a peek at my final card of the layered stamp image technique. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and thanks for watching.